Artists and scientists are not as different as popular stereotypes suggest. People raised in U.S. society receive a steady diet of inaccurate images about both the arts and the sciences. The illusions these images create undermine our individual and collective abilities to cultivate transdisciplinary thinking. We need to recommit to the kinds of arts and sciences thinking upon which humans have so long depended for our survival. The dynamic world we live in requires us to see how our human actions have impacts that far exceed the disciplinary boundaries that are currently the dominant mode in our thinking and in our educations. My project as an IONE educator is to create a course exploring the intersections of arts, sciences, social sciences, and humanities for sustaining society. It's clear that artistic and scientific approaches to thinking and problem solving need to be brought together more powerfully and more holistically than our current educational models are doing. Over more than a dozen years of anthropological fieldwork, I've worked with an indigenous community, the Saraguros of Highland Ecuador. Virtually everyone in Saraguro is an artist and a scientist, a careful observer of the natural and social worlds they inhabit, and a maker of the things that living a good life requires. Spinning yarn, weaving, beadwork, wood carving, caring for animals, minding the weather, planting corn, making music, dancing, storytelling, drawing and painting. These are the activities that define daily life for so many of my Saraguro friends. As managers of natural resources and sustainable farmers, my friends are holistic scientist artists. They remind me that for many societies, there are no strong distinctions between the arts and the sciences. For years, the mural on the main square of Saraguro read, "Only together can we realize the dreams of everyone." This idea for me sparks a desire to understand better how the arts and sciences, together with indigenous ways of knowing, can work to realize the dream of a sustainable, just society. But I think we've gone far out of balance when, for example, an entire elementary school in Duluth is organized around STEM education to such a degree that they literally have no art education for elementary kids. Artist, educator, and organizer Miri Villiard was recently hired as a consultant to infuse art into this school's science-based garden program.
They only do STEM, so they don't have any art curriculum at all in the school. And so in order to bring art to the kids, the assistant principal contacted me, and under their garden program and under the landscaping budget was like, hey, can you help facilitate a collaborative art project with the fourth graders that also incorporates, history on indigenous people in the area, because, we built this garden on this land, and the kids are super excited and super knowledgeable about all the science aspect of it. But now we want to beautify it, but we want it to be also meaningful, and we want to incorporate it as an arts education too.
This is how the arts in U.S. culture are so often brought in as an extra add-on to what's considered the real work of STEM education. It's also not an accident, I think, that indigenous culture is lumped in there with the arts as an add-on. This marginalization is a disaster for our local, regional, and global cultures, and for creative problem solving on the numerous wicked problems we currently face. Let me share an example of a problem solved through an integrated artistic and scientific imagination. Maybe you've heard of Florence Nightingale. If we remember her as a compassionate nurse who cared for injured soldiers. This is a nice mythic image, but it's such a simplification that it undermines her real significant contributions to science and the creative art of visualizing information. She certainly performed as a nurse caring for the wounded, but she was also a clear-eyed scientist and administrator keeping careful track of deaths in battle, deaths from wounds, and deaths from follow-on infections. She found that in any given month, 6 to 10 times as many men were dying in field hospitals than during battle. She submitted a report to Parliament advocating for reforms in sanitation. 6 months later, the British government had not acted on her recommendations. This is when Nightingale's artistic imagination intervened. The rose diagram she invented intellectually and viscerally communicates her scientific findings. The red and black indicate men killed in battle. The blue areas indicate the men who died from secondary infections. Shortly after this approach to conveying her findings went public, the British government sent a sanitation commission to Crimea. Because of her ability to envision and practice both scientific data collection and creative artistic imagination, thousands of men survived to live their lives. Today, we need a similar fusion of arts and science thinking in our complex world that desperately needs a new paradigm for education, one tied to the holistic imagination that has led humans to thrive for so many millennia. To prepare for this course, I am talking to artists, scientists, and educators from a wide range of disciplines. I'll wrap up this brief introduction to my IONE project with a selection of thoughts from the people I've been talking to.
There's this notion that scientists aren't creative, which bothers me because I feel like everything I do every day is creativity. But I get to ask interesting questions about the way the world around me works and then figure out how to answer those questions and then communicate them. And if that isn't creative expression, I don't know what is.
Are the arts and sciences connected? Why and why not? Yes, they're connected, as we've said, because of critical inquiry, discovery, curiosity, questioning. It's about understanding the world.
The way you approach science and the way you approach art are very similar. Artists really use the scientific method. They don't put that label on it, but we do. You have a posit, you explore it a little bit, and you tweak one thing at a time and see what happens, see what the result is, and then you change your posit and then keep doing that and discover along the way.
I plan to publish the full conversations by the end of this year and offer a course informed by these ideas in the spring of 2020.